Again, a warm welcome on a extremely warm Christmas day for Minnesota. I want to welcome everyone today as we gather to celebrate a major foundation in our faith journey, the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. It's key to our faith, the leaping down of God's Son into our world, to ever change the world, to give us the direction in which we are called to live our life, and how we continue to give birth to Christ in our own lives each and every day. It's important as we look back over the Advent season. A lot of times my experience is parishes kind of just get through Advent so they can get on to the big celebration of Christmas. I love the fact that we as a parish embrace Advent with great devotion. So I want to take us back a little bit, remembering the words of our Advent opening ritual. Each week we were privileged to hear the personal witness as members of our community, as well as the larger community, came forward to share their stories of waiting and those times of being and experiencing the light. Very moving. Each week, somebody stepped forward to tell a brief story about their own light, their own life. Each week, they would then in turn light one of the candles on the Advent wreath. As we also then heard the words from our sister Joan Chittister. God's dream for the world is us. That means you and I. We are the light to one another in the darkness. We wait, fully awake, fully aware, without complacency, and hopefully without compliance. We become stronger and more fully human. And no matter who wants to suppress us or to silence us, we can be signs of hope that never, never goes away. And so today, obviously, our Advent journey is complete. We are brought to that place of trusting God's dream for the world. That we can be the light to one another in a world that continues to experience darkness as well as fear. We heard in this morning's gospel from St. Luke, the angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them. Incredible manifestation of God. And still, they were afraid. They were terrified. And again, humanity was encouraged to not be afraid, instead to trust, to be fully aware, to not drift to the false safety of complacency and compliance, which I often refer to as the bleachers. To recommit to the gift and the fact that we are a community driven by faith, and not just during High Holy Days. I'd like to believe I could believe everything I read in the newspaper. Last Sunday, to my great joy and delight, the Sunday paper arrived, and on the front page and above the fold, in an amazing size of letters, driven by faith. Not the largest headline to roll out in the last few weeks. But nonetheless, it's a big one. An article that I am extremely honored about, and we all need to be. About a faith community had talked about several across the metro, focusing on what it is to be driven by faith, and what it is to drive miles and miles and miles to be there. And to recognize that it is not just on high holy days that we celebrate, but indeed we celebrate every time we gather. And the high holy days are but one more wonderful piece to that. So we are indeed a community driven by faith. It's all about community and sharing the light of kindred spirits. Today on Christmas, Incarnation, God fully embracing our humanity in the birth of this child Jesus. Last night, as families would process into this manger scene, we would hear from the Roman martyrology. On this day, each day, Christians celebrate the leaping down from heaven of God's Son. It's a celebration that takes us far beyond the very simple once-a-year remembrance of long ago and far away. We see once again how easily history repeats itself. As we heard the Christmas story, it is similar to the world in which we live today. It is remembering the birth of a child born to refugee parents in a world of political unrest and violence. Describes the world then, describes the world today. The same world today that reminds us of our need to lift up children separated from family by our faulty immigration laws. Far too long ago, I had suggested that when we gather around this table, that we light one candle, giving us a sense of hope for children around the world, and that we not light the other candle as a reminder for all of us that there continue to be children separated from their families. There continue to be children who are not at home. It is a reminder for us each time we gather that we still have a great deal of work to do. Why we need to be signs of hope that never, never, never go away. And so today, we again are reminded that the glory of the Lord shone around them, and still they were terrified. And again, as we have been reminded throughout Advent, that God's dream for the world is truly you and I. We are the light to one another. We are driven by faith to do all in our power to ensure that there is room at the inn for all people. For all people. And so as we gather and remember this symbol of a birth long ago, far away, that had to occur there because there was no room in the inn, that we need to once again today in today's world commit that there will always be room in the inn, and that every man, woman, and child who seek a life, whatever that life may be, that there needs to be a light in the window. There needs to be an open door. Whether that is in our nation or that is in our church. We can ill afford, as lights of Christ, to continue down a road of us and them. It is about us embracing our responsibility. I want to close with a reading that I reflect on a pretty regular basis. It's a reading that is entitled Wishful Thinking, written by Frederick Buechner, who is an American writer, a novelist, a poet, a preacher, a theologian, and a Presbyterian. This is from one of his works entitled Wishful Thinking. Before I read this, I want you to envision yourself in the presence of your God, your higher power. You, if you can't think of it, somehow being totally in the presence of your God and hearing these words that are spoken to you. Whatever your situation may be in this life, if it's all about light or if it's about darkness, if it's about great joy or you're really struggling, because we're all across the board. That's just how it is as human beings. I want you to hear these words that are meant for you. Here is your life. You might never have been, but you are. Because the party wouldn't have been complete without you. Here is your world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid. I am with you. Nothing can separate us. It's for you that I created the universe. I love you. There's only one catch. Like any other gift, the gift of grace can be yours only if you reach out and take it. It is there for each and every single one of us. Merry Christmas.